What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Stand a little taller. Doesn't mean I'm lonely when I'm alone. What doesn't kill you makes you fight.
Hi, I'm Allyson. This is Kicking Cancer to the Curb, and I am here with Michelle Titus. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Michelle is a survivor, and I'm really excited to talk to her today because this is our first discussion with a cancer survivor. So let's start from the beginning. What kind of cancer did you have?
I had colon cancer.
Okay.
It was in the sigmoid part of the colon, so it was the lower part of the colon that hangs down right before the rectum, and it was stage 3B.
Okay. So for people that don't understand the B part, can you explain that?
My understanding of the staging is size and growth.
Okay.
So the tumor had grown over to whatever it is, millimeters, centimeters, however they measure it, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Into the colon.
Right.
Right.
And then where it spreads is both related to staging as well as
The growth.
the A, B, and C's of it all. And it had spread through the intestinal wall and into a few of the lymph nodes.
Okay.
So, but it was right on the cusp of 2 and 3. It spread into like 1 to 2 of the lymph nodes. So they were able to catch it relatively early.
So that's exactly like me. I started out stage 2, and then I had my endoscopic procedure, and when the surgeon came out, he's like, "You're stage 3." Did you go to the internet?
I did a little bit, but I tried to stay away from fear-based kind of, worst case scenarios. I really don't think that that's best for the psyche for anyone.
No.
Whether you're dealing with anything.
With anything,
in life.
yeah.
I think go to the professional. Go to the professional, go with your own particular team.
Yes.
And once those are the individuals that you can trust. Those are the ones who are on your side.
So those were the ones who gave you the statistics?
Yes.
And what were your statistics?
My statistics is I was at 70% if I did absolutely nothing after the surgery. They contained all the cancer, they had gotten it all out, but
Okay.
I have 2, at the time, single digit, young girls.
Right.
And, being a mom is something that I've always wanted to be and something that I very much enjoy.
Of course.
So my statistics of survivability within the first 5 years would in fact increase by a good 17% if I did preventative-based chemo.
Right.
And so I did, and they treated me very aggressively. And so, with our age and weight and lifestyle and things of that nature, I'm close to the 90s. I think I'm like 87% or something like that. And I'd imagine you would be too.
Yeah, we like that percentage much better.
Yes. Double digits.
Double digits. Is it in your family? Just real quick.
It is in my family.
Okay, so were you aware at all, like it's a possibility? Did you look for signs?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I really didn't. It didn't come as a surprise to me
Okay.
at all. I think that the bowel kind of changed. It became, there was almost like an incident, like I just kind of had problems. I became increasingly more constipated.
Okay.
It's a filthy organ. It's a disgusting topic.
There are a lot of words. I know, I'm so used to saying them now, though.
Exactly. So it's just something that, you have to talk about. And so that happened in January, and then slowly and surely I noticed that there was, very rich, fresh blood in there. And so...
Dark.
Yeah, like I cut myself.
Yeah.
And I thought, all right, well, we all know that's not right.
Right.
So I went to my doctor, and he was like, well, it's probably an internal hemorrhoid. You're young. You really don't have anything to worry about. And I was like, okay, great. So I walked away.
Yeah.
And it kept going.
Okay.
And so it kept bleeding.
How long?
For about another 2 months. And then I finally went back and I said, this is going on too long.
Good for you.
And so he
That's
said, you
great.
know what, it is. And so let's go and order a full, actually he sent me to your gastroenterologist. I wanted
Dr.
a female.
Olson?
Yeah, I wanted a female.
I wanted a female too.
Yeah,
That's why I went
exactly.
to her. I'm like,
You know,
I'm gonna
it's-
find a female.
It's intimate.
It's very
You know,
intimate.
It's your body, and there's fear, and you just, I think it's important to feel safe and feel comfortable
Yeah.
with your team.
Yeah.
So,
But that was the last female. Everybody else after that, up that part of my body was a male.
yeah, and just to tell you the truth, like you just got over it really quickly.
You do. You're like, it's just, that's vanity. And vanity pretty much goes out the door when you're fighting for your life.
Yes, that's absolutely
Yeah.
true. And so,
So
I
he-
went and
you
I
went
met
to-
with her,
okay.
and she ordered the colonoscopy, and then the bleeding still persisted. And so I called the scheduler of the colonoscopy, and I said, you know what? I don't care who does it and who has the availability.
Right.
I just really need to get in there.
You talked to Henry? Or
No, I
Marcella?
talked to, I think it was Marcella.
Okay.
And so, you know, I really do believe in like serendipitous type of things, and
Me too.
my colonoscopy was 1 year from today.
Tell me, you had the colonoscopy, then what happened? Tell me about your D-Day, your diagnosis day. They didn't tell you
You
while
know,
you were in the, it
it's-
wasn't Dr. Olson who did your,
No, it was Dr. Stein.
okay.
And I adore everyone who's been on my cancer team.
Yeah, me too.
And,
Absolutely.
And Cedars has just been top notch. They know what they're doing.
They know.
And, you know, knock on wood that I was here in Los Angeles.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
We're not gonna let that slide by.
No. So, let's see, I went, and so I wake up,
Okay.
you know, and I'm expecting, in all honesty, like I'm not surprised what the doctor says, but I'm also expecting like, oh, you know, you spent $2,000 for an internal hemorrhoid, like, you know, change your diet, or you know, whatever
me
it
too.
is, and that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And my mom's sitting next to me, and she's in tears, and the doctor's like, we found something, you're gonna have surgery, you're gonna live to be an old lady. You know, and I was like, oh,
God bless him.
okay. You know, in my grogginess.
They
And-
told you right then and there, huh?
Yes.
At the outpatient center, is that where you went?
No, when I woke up in the colonoscopy, like I had just been in the room, and he had just been doing the.
Yeah, but it was an outpatient procedure.
Yes.
Okay.
At that.
Because I had to go
particular
in to hear my news. But he told you right away because you had to go straight to surgery. That's probably why.
Probably.
Okay.
Yes. So he told me right away.
And you are now thinking,
I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm still kind of oblivious about the whole like cancer thing. You know, I mean, he was very much like, we took a piece of it, we're gonna send it down to the labs for testing, and then all the legal rigmarole comes out. Like, they don't want to be liable, and they don't want to tell you, like, you know, they don't want to put fear in you and be like, oh, I think it's this. But eventually, and it was interesting, because then he called me like either later on that night or the next day, and he was like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm okay. And then we just had a conversation. And I was like, Dr. Stein, you know, you've looked at thousands of these. You know, please don't make me wait another day for the pathology to come back. Like, what do you really think it is? What do I need to prepare for? And then he said, Michelle, you have cancer.
they know. They know
Yeah,
immediately.
Exactly. And
Whoa.
so,
That moment, just take a second. When he said that to you, what are you thinking? Michelle, you have cancer.
you know, it was so interesting. It's almost a surreal moment.
Yeah.
A lot of this is very kind of just different plane of existence, like something else happens. And that was one of those moments too. I remember thinking, I'm not going to call my mom. I'm going to give her another 24 hours of believing that I'm okay before I take her down this road with me. I made a few important phone calls to people who I had known had gone through it, and to my ex, because I would need to go into surgery.
Yeah. You need help with the girls.
And I needed him to show up.
Right.
I would always joke around and say, you know, I need the stand-in when I can't go on stage. I need my stunt parent to come on, you know, and at that point in time I really did.
Right.
And so I think I grieved, but I had been through so much prior. It didn't surprise me, and I had a really good skill set for just kind of getting to the next breath. I knew that things happen.
Mm-hmm.
I know that things happen for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
that you can learn from them in retrospect.
Mm-hmm.
And I was already on a spiritual path anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I just kind of continued down that particular road. I didn't get hysterical.
Right.
And I think that for me was very important. I was very much like, okay, the cancer is here and I need to have surgery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did everything that they wanted me to do with regards to chemo in that particular process. But I never really let it take root. I never really identified myself as a individual with cancer. I had cancer for about 10 days. And then they took it out of me.
That's good. I
And
like that.
I think
I like
that was important for my process.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're so much more than that. That's just a little tiny piece, literally.
Yes, it was a very small part of
Yeah.
my story. So it's just what worked for me. I don't, everybody has a different path and everybody takes a different path, but
Right.
sometimes I think like kind of just identifying it and really owning it and letting it take root.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how much, the kind of mind, body, soul process that contributes to making you sicker.
Oh, I think
don't
it's
know.
huge. I think it's huge the way that you look at it, the way that you deal with it, how you approach it, like everything that you're talking about right now. I think it makes a huge difference. And my doctors have told me, that's
Stay
one
positive.
thing that you have on your side is being positive. And I was like that from the minute that I found out.
It's not just doing the medical piece and the surgical piece and the chemo piece. I think you really have to do like kind of like the mental process and the soul work as well.
Yeah.
And you have to help the body.
Yes.
By I do the smoothies and the almonds, and I'm primarily plant-based, and
Right.
I've made the necessary changes to help the body work in conjunction. And I think we have to take a holistic approach.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer's on the rise.
Terrible.
Yes.
Terrible.
When I went in for a consultation, and they were telling me that they're seeing young girls, 18-year-olds, teenagers coming in with increases of breast cancer. It's just kind of across the board.
I know, it's
And I
terrible.
think lifestyle has to have some type of stress.
Relevance or, yeah.
How are you living?
Yeah.
I think that once you have this level of health scare, it's time to reevaluate your life.
It is. I like to go to Whole Foods now, just to get a lot of things.
Right.
Not
I can't afford Whole
everything.
Foods, so I go to Sprouts.
Okay, well there you go. That's an option. Where is it?
Sprouts is kind of Sepulveda near, probably Sepulveda in the west part of Culver City.
Okay, well there you go. There's an option if you can't do Whole Foods, Sprouts, and I'm assuming it's similar foods, just on lower.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Once you had your surgery, how long did it take you to recover? They took it out. They took the section out.
They took the section out, and then I was resectioned right then and there. So
Okay.
I didn't have a colostomy bag.
Okay, that's good.
Let's see. I was up and walking that night. They had me shift. They had me do something. I can't remember what it was, but it was only in the room, and it was like some type of transfer from like point A to point B. And then, let's see, I had my surgery on the 8th, and I think I was released either on the 10th or the 11th. I think it's because I had C-sections before, so I knew they wanted me up and walking, and
And they went in through your C-section. No?
they ended up going in. They were going to try to do it laparoscopically, but they discovered
Really?
it much further down. So they went in
Oh.
through my belly button, and then I guess because they had to like resection everything, then they just opened up the C-section scar.
And who was your surgeon?
Tashima?
Dr. Tashima?
Yes,
I like how that sounds.
I
Tashima.
think.
I think.
I can't remember.
Also-
I was on narcotics, and I only knew him for like a week. So if I'm saying your name wrong, I do apologize. This is when the Dilaudid and the morphine and
Oh, the
and
Dilaudid,
all
oh.
those type of thing, and you're just, I just wanted to scratch my skin off. That was
Really,
just
you were
some
itchy.
stuff.
I was hallucinating. It was like very Stephen King-ish for me when I was like, and I'm like, you have to get me off the morphine. So
Yeah,
then they put me on the
wanted-
Dilaudid, and it was like a little bit better, but still.
I think they had me on the Dilaudid at first on the drip, and
Yeah.
then they put me on like some type of like pill coating immediately after, because I just had I spent the entire like first night like scratching, itching.
You're back in your house 3 days later,
Yes.
and how is it going as far as the food that you're eating? You said you're mostly plant-based, you're very holistic. Did you
That
have,
was after.
that was after the chemo?
Yes.
Okay, so
No,
let's,
that was
now
that
you're
was
back
after
home.
the cancer diagnosis. I lived a very different lifestyle before.
What kind of lifestyle before?
You know, just kind of, I think, like more of your typical like drive-through fast food. You know, ate a lot of sugar. You know, just more convenience
Yeah,
than mindfulness.
okay,
And I think that was, you have to help the body heal.
yes.
You have to help yourself. You just can't rely on surgeries and chemotherapies.
Right.
It has to be a holistic approach.
Right.
So that's when I changed.
After the surgery, how long before you started chemo?
My incision took a long time to close up, and they needed me to be fully healed
Okay.
before you start
Yeah.
breaking down the
Right.
cells.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sores and such have such a harder time healing when you're under chemo.
Right.
So it was about 10 weeks after the surgery before I was able to start chemo, and then they had me on a 6-month preventative regimen, and I did 8 rounds of the oxaliplatin
Mhm.
drip.
Yeah.
I had 2 of the sessions where they just put it directly into my vein, but then I don't know if you experienced that. Did you have a PICC line?
I had a, this is chemo brain.
Yes.
I had the, oh my gosh, what's it called? Not PICC line, where they actually put it into your skin.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking
It's totally slipped my mind. There you go.
So it's still there.
No, we took it out. They took it out. It's right here. My port.
Port. There
Port,
you go.
like fine wine. Port. So they put because you can do the veins, you can do the PICC line, or you can do the port. And I was gonna do the PICC line, and then I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna do the port because I'm doing this for like a long time. And then everybody says
did
it's
you do
easy.
chemo for?
I did 8 weeks total because I did 2 weeks before, and then I did 6 months after. No, I mean 6 weeks before and then 6 months after. So almost 8 months total.
I see. Yeah, it was probably about 8 months before the whole process was over. Yeah, I had the PICC line put in. They did 2. It was a very odd feeling, and my arm hurt.
Okay,
quite a
so
bit.
tell us what that feeling is like.
It's almost like they've injected like Freon in you. It was very sore, and it was very cold. And there was a very cold, sore feeling, like a great bruise. I mean, just a huge bruise type of feeling, like right here in the arm.
Painful? Or just
Sore,
so okay.
you know? So yes, somewhere on the pain.
Sensitive.
Yes, very sensitive to touch.
Yeah.
And then finally, after 2 of those treatments, I had the PICC line put in, and it was interesting. You can't even see.
No.
It's right there.
Yeah.
And the woman who did it has been at Cedars for like 28 years.
Mhm.
Again, chemo brain, that it slips my mind.
Yeah.
But she literally opened me up, stuck the port in, stuck the hose in, ran it all the way up to like, here somewhere, so that it was going into like the central system. And then, kind of sutured it. I didn't feel a thing. It didn't bother me. But it was the only time I ever felt like a patient. Because at that point in time, was really when it kind of changed my life. Like now I had to wear those opera length plastic gloves. Do you know what I'm talking about? That goes over for when you shower.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Uh-huh.
You have those with the rubber band, and you have to be so cautious about getting it wet, and they're so hypersensitive about you getting it wet. So, and I miss my baths quite a bit.
I lived in the bath.
I couldn't. What was I gonna do? Take a bath like this?
Well,
with my arm out.
I had the port, and then I would carry around the bag for like overnight. So I would just like hang the bag up, and then I would just sit in the bath. So I would be connected.
Oh,
but I would just keep my arm up.
So yeah, that's just different.
And why did you decide to go with the PICC line after the veins? It was because the veins were collapsing, or
they did collapse. Two of my veins did in fact collapse, and that was extraordinarily painful.
Okay.
It didn't help, but it was something my oncologist recommended.
Who's your oncologist?
Marina Vaisberg.
Okay.
And I love her, and she's super knowledgeable. She knows how to save lives.
After they put the PICC line in, was it easier, or well?
It was.
It was. And what was
easier.
your cycle? Was it 2 weeks? Every 3 weeks? How did that go?
They had me on a 3-week cycle. So what I would do is I would go in for the oxaliplatin drip, and it's some stuff. The actual day is not so bad. Like you go in, you get it. It's really the 2 and 3 days after, and then you're drowned. Or on fire, whichever way you want to,
Can you share some of your symptoms? Side
For
effects.
me,
Side effects, I should
had a
say.
very difficult. Well, number one, I still have neuropathy in the
Mhm.
tips of my fingers and the tips of my toes.
Me too.
I just really can't feel them.
Yeah, me too.
It's still numb, so I thought maybe I'd start to learn how to play guitar, because then I get all
Oh.
calloused and they'd start to bleed and I wouldn't even feel it. Or you got to use it to your advantage. So you got to.
Take some guitar lessons.
I have an Ivanhoe sitting right back there.
I love it. That's a great idea. When life gives you lemons.
That's right. Use it to your advantage. So anyway, then I had horrid bowel spasms. Normally you have a lot of, diarrheas, the primaries.
Yeah.
That was complete opposite for me. It was like the colon would stop. And I would have such extreme constipation, and I could just feel everything, and it was it was like it was targeting the particular area, and I would have spasms, and they were extraordinary.
Cramps. Cramping, when you say spasms.
Kind of like a Charlie horse is what I would say, but a
Here?
Charlie horse of your intestines for about 4 days straight.
Oh.
Yes, it was something terrible.
Chemo, cancer, like once my life immediately changed
Yes.
from that day, and less and less and less and less of my life was about, my family and, my interests and things like that, and it all became about cancer. I mean, just getting through the day. And now, 4 months out, I'm back totally into my life again. Completely, I'm so busy, chaos today, and I like that. But when you're in it, you feel like you're never going to get your life back. But you do.